it's a must-win game. You just played the biggest game, potentially biggest regular season game in program history. As Rod Moore said after the game, maybe the biggest college football regular season game in history, given everything that was at stake, including things off the field. And now you have another biggest game of the year because you have to win this game to get into the college football playoff. Obviously, a small chance if they lose, but the way I see it with the landscape and everything that, all the teams that are still there right now at the end, I don't think they really have much of a shot. If I'm looking at it from a Michigan standpoint as well, you're playing in the last game, right? The ACC games at the same time, but or one of the games is, right? Let's see. Yeah, the ACC games at the same time. But so some things will have happened before you take the field on Saturday night. But I think you're rooting for Florida State to win at the same time as you do. I think you're probably rooting for Washington to win. I think you and I have been pretty on top of that, how we think Oregon is the much better team, and Vegas agrees with a 10-point spread there. And you're probably hoping, maybe Georgia wins. But, if Georgia loses, you can move up to the 1. Your thoughts on the stakes here in championship weekend?
Well, you certainly don't want to get in the business of losing and then waiting to see what happens, right? And it's interesting. It's similar to when they play the Big Ten conference basketball tournament, where that's always the last game right before it's decision time. Right now, again, there's one up against it in the ACC, but Michigan has a chance here to make that final impression with the committee. And again, I don't know if there's anything they could do against Iowa, where if Georgia won, where you're having that conversation about the number 1 seed. I think Georgia wins. It's them as the number 1 seed. The committee has set that up this week. That's what's on the line for them. With Michigan, you kind of start to rack your brain about, because there's always a chance, right? Like, you have to go out and play football. You have to go out and execute. We've seen it in this Michigan team at times make mistakes where they snowball. And Iowa's the type of team where if you do make a mistake, they have this Belichickian way of pouncing on it and making you pay for it, regardless of how bad their offense is, regardless of they're not turning teams over. I don't think they're turning teams over quite as much as they have been. Certainly not scoring, which was, part of that aspect of turning teams over as well. So you start to rack your brain about, well, what would actually need to happen for this to be a football game? And I mean, if Iowa holds Michigan to, let's just say Iowa holds Michigan to 14 points. Can Iowa score 15? Can Iowa score 14 to send it into overtime? I don't see that. So for me, I mean, it's all about, we talked about this on our Monday show. I like this opponent because coming off of what has been an emotional few weeks, obviously an emotional game, the Iowa Hawkeyes, if nothing else, are going to test your discipline. They are going to test your physicality, all of those things. So to me, must-win game in terms of how the playoff stuff shakes out. We'll see. I mean, if Bama beats Georgia, that throws everything into chaos. But Michigan can just kind of win this game, crack its knuckles, and let the chaos play out. Like, they are going to be the number 1 or the number 2 seed as long as they take care of business on Saturday, and that you let the ball, the chips fall where they may from there.
Yeah, the committee's definitely rooting for Georgia because they don't want to have to make some of those tough decisions that would come with that, potentially with Bama, and then you have to put Texas in, and then just Florida State if they win. But I think if you're Michigan and you're looking at, you want Florida State certainly to win, and it's a must-win to get in the playoff. It's also another one of your goals that you set forth at the beginning of the year. I mean, you want to win the program's 45th Big Ten championship. You want to win the Big Ten. You want to go 13-0. You want to win every game on your schedule. This is another goal they have in front of them. Iowa, 6 games in a row coming into this one with a Vegas over-under total points of 34 or less. Here are the total points between both teams in those 6 games combined afterwards. 21, 22, 17, 22, 28, and 23. You have gotten rich, AB, off of some of these unders that you've bet, I know, throughout the season. But it's going to be interesting to see if Iowa can actually score